What's going on? It's your boy AJ Red back one more time because as you can tell by the cast, they look great now because they're not naked. Hey man, listen, we back down in the valley where the girls get naked. And if you're throwing bands, you know goddamn well they gonna shake it. So anyway, we're back to talk about season 2, episode 7 real quick. So y'all ready to talk about that filthy ass shit they all got going over there in Chucalissa? Let's talk about it. Here we go.
It's the AJ Red Show, starring me, AJ Red. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Now let's get into it.
What's going on, YouTube friends and family? Welcome back to the AJ Red Show, starring me, your boy AJ Red. I'm back again with another episode of P Valley down in Chucalissa. We down in the valley with the girls getting naked, and if you're doing bands, you know already they shaking it so good they were trying to steal a club for a good hot 5 to 10 mil. But anyway, we're gonna jump right up into episode season 2, episode 7. They came in with a nasty little number, Aretha Franklin number, Until You Come Back to Me. That's what I'm gonna do. And Loretta Devine came out of her shell and out of her affliction of being blind for a hot minute. They put her up on the stage. She was reminiscing about the days when she was on stage down at the Pank, and she was able to see shit clearly, literally clearly, and actually was performing over at the Pank on the stage and doing her thing back in the days. It was a really good number. I've always pretty much enjoyed hearing Loretta Devine bust out in songs, sometimes even dance when she did a little something. Y'all know she's one of the original Dream Girls. If y'all don't know, look the shit up, check it out, look up her history. But she was doing good with that number. They put her little hair on and everything. She had a little wig, nice little wig on, curled up and everything, flushed out for the people up on the stage with her little boa and everything, all dressed up from her days of old in her memory. But something clicked in that moment also. I guess she was dreaming. Somewhere it flashed to where she saw this young lady that was kind of offering her this drink to come on into the fold and join the rest of her ancestors, which I surely there found out that it was Beulah, Uncle Cliff's mom, which is Grandma Ernestine's daughter. And if you ever seen anything like that with old folks, sometimes they have visions, they see different shit, things go on in their mind, they dream stuff, they have visions and different stuff like that. And that's pretty much what Grandma Ernestine was doing. Y'all, I'm fucking with this water because I'm still shaking back from this COVID thing. So I got my hydration station right now, only got H2O in it. But yeah, she woke up, basically she was having somewhat of a near-death experience. Something I'm pretty sure she wasn't prepared for, something she wasn't looking for. But this is all deriving of symptoms of her having COVID-19. Uncle Cliff sitting in the Pank with Haley reminiscing about his family history, the ancestors, all the stuff that his grandmother did down at the Pank, his uncles and aunts and all these other people past history, having this conversation with Haley. And while he's reminiscing and, going down memory lane and shit in the pink Cadillac, Haley is still dead set on what the fuck she said. She's like, I understand what you're saying. I hear what your words are, but at the end of the day, the bottom line is, bitch, I'm still sitting in the Pank. I'm the owner here. I sank my money in that I took from my ex-husband, and I risked my life for that money, and I'm doing what I can to keep that, to keep the dream alive of making sure I push forward and have a better life for myself. It was meant to be for myself and my daughter, Haley said, but the bottom line is, as we all know, Haley's daughter is deceased. She, died in the car crash or whatever have you and drowned. And, they had that same little debacle back and forth going over that as to what the club had, what the club meant to him, what the club means to her, dollar sign for both. And it's about actually keeping a living and keeping food on their table. So Uncle Clifford was kind of pretty much considering the idea. He's like, bitch, what you mean you're not going to take the 5 mil? She was like, cause bitch, I'm shooting for 10. So with that being said, she's looking to get a bigger payday for him and probably some of the girls and definitely herself. Mercedes trying to get the rights, get the reins on, the reins on motherhood as it pertains to Terrika. She's trying to build a relationship between the two of them. It seemed to be rocky, definitely so far. I think they're connected. I think they're going to be in a better place. But she's having some struggle with, trying to figure out, having flashbacks of when she was a young lady, and, in the lifestyle, having sex or whatever, dating pool and all this different stuff, and becoming pregnant at an early age of 14 or 15 or something like that. So with that being said, she's kind of seeing her younger self back in the gap, in Terrika. And she's trying to, in so many words, she's trying to force this idea that Terrika needs to make a decision now. With her being 14 weeks pregnant, she needs to make a decision as to whether or not she really wants to keep this child, as to really whether or not she really wants to be a mother at the same age, and kind of repeat this existing cycle or past cycle as her mom did. And who knows, probably Patricia Woodbine as well. We don't know. Looking at Lil Murder. Lil Murder woke up on the sofa. He's still over there. It's apparently a day later when it's 2 weeks over here. It's a day later over there in Chucalissa. Time moves apparently mighty man motherfucking slow over there. So I'm pretty sure I will not be in Mississippi anytime soon because their time zones seem to be a little fucked up. But he woke up a day later after, witnessing Big T's suicide right beside him in the car that night. And then he fled to Uncle Cliff's house and, was seeking refuge there with him. And a little bit more than refuge, he was seeking comfort, he was seeking shelter, he was seeking emotion, he was seeking love, and a whole lot of other things he needed, which we saw, and he got, that he was looking for from Uncle Cliff, or with this experience he had with his former lover, Big T, former good friend, or whatever you want to call him, all that good stuff. But you can really tell that he was trying his best to try and come out of the situation, but that's a hard pill to swallow, and I'm pretty sure that's pretty fucking hard to unsee. And I'm pretty sure every time he closes his eyes, that's what he sees, in his dreams or his last vision. And he probably didn't even sleep that long with all that going on. But in all retrospect, he's doing really good with Grandmother Ernestine. He's taking care of her while Uncle Clifford is away taking care of some business with Haley or whatever have you. And he's babysitting Grandma Ernestine. And he has this conversation with her while he cooked this bomb-ass meal according to Grandma Ernestine. She done named him, a.k.a. Chef Boyard D. Negro or some shit like that. Chef Negro D, that's what she called him. But apparently that smothered pork chop and them yams and the motherfucking greens must be done the Mississippi way. They must be really, really motherfucking good. But they had a conversation between the two of them, and he was asking her how she's feeling and all this other stuff about, putting in a word for him when it comes to Uncle Cliff, because she was like, well, shit, you keep cooking like this, an old bitch going to keep you around. And Lil Murder thought that was an insinuation that she herself, Grandma Ernestine, was taking a liking to him. She is, but not in that special way. She was speaking about Uncle Clifford, actually. She knew that they have this unrequited love for each other, this undying romance. There's a connection between the two of them that she even saw, while being blind. And she also shared with him that, she's been having some of these dreams. She's been smelling death, not just for her, but for him as well. She smelled the blood on him, the death on him, the fear. And most times when people are blind, their other senses really get heightened. Or when they're deaf, when you lose one sense, they're telling me that all the other senses heighten like so fucking much to it's almost unbearable. But it's a good thing for those who are in that position. And so what she was telling him was she smelled the fear on him. She felt the fear on him. She saw it, in so many words. But she wanted him to try and, I guess, push through that, endure through it, and work that shit out. And so that he and Uncle Clifford could actually have a better resolution and a better outcome and a better future ahead of the two of them, with the relationship that she and all of us know that's going to happen. Is pretty much destined. Like I said, it's unrequited love. So I do understand how she feels about Lil Murder and Lil Marcus, aka Lil Murder, and Uncle Cliff getting back together and actually living out that life and that love for each other that they want to exemplify, but are too afraid because of worldly ideas and thoughts. But I just say to them with that, fuck that shit, cast that shit aside and do y'all. Mercedes taking Terrika to the abortion clinic. After pressing her for so many hours or whatever have you, asking her, what she's gonna do, have you decided what you're gonna do, what you're gonna do, what you're gonna do, what you're gonna do, she was getting on the girl's motherfucking nerve. And quite frankly, she was kind of getting on my nerves, trying to force her to make a decision. And I do understand somewhat how that could be a big effect on Mercedes being 30 years old and getting ready to become a grandmother. But shit, a lot of these ladies do that shit, or women do that shit nowadays. I don't see how, I don't know why, but hey, to each his own. But she was trying to make sure that Terrika, I guess, was not fucking up her life in so many words with trying to be a mother at a young age and trying to pursue career goals and still look towards having a bright future with having a child on her hip and having this little boy promising that he's going to be there and get a little job, a little 1-2, something to take his little ragged ass down to the crystals and get him a job. But I'm pretty sure, like Mercedes said, if that's what y'all think you're going to make it nowadays, then good luck. This bitch, welfare checks ain't big enough. These electricity checks, I don't believe are big enough. Then again, they just might be. But in the end, it takes so much to get on that shit. And then they have waiting lists and all that. And do you really want to live that way? I think not. Do you really want to raise your baby on welfare, food stamps? And let me just tell you, there's people that have done it, are still doing it, and making a real fucking killing off of it. They made a living out of it. But then there's those who actually use it as the crush that it's meant to be, as the stepping stone, let me say, that it's meant to be, and moving on to better, brighter, and bigger things in life. So, but I still felt as though before just putting her in the car and driving the line to they going down to the fucking yoga shop, tell this little girl, look, let's have this conversation before we leave instead of getting on the road and ambushing her with a decision to be made by taking her to say, well, let's check our options and shit like that. That's okay, but let's have that conversation before we leave the house. That's why that honesty begins before we get to Jackson. She should have had that conversation with Terrika before they even got in the car to go down there to Jackson, instead of lying to her about, oh, we're going to get some ice cream. Bitch, please, that shit don't work no more. That only works with white kids and probably white old ladies that's looking for, what it is, praline, peanut butter pecan, fucking praline ice cream. But she should have done a lot better job than what she did, explaining to her what their journey was going to be coming up. Let me move on because I don't be too long. Uncle Cliff and Lil Murder pretty much having this conversation about identity, personal identity. And Lil Murder was asking, have you always been like this? I guess dressing androgynously. For Uncle Cliff, he was always asking, going through his clothes and stuff like that, asking if this was always him. And shit, quite frankly, he was like, ever since 3 years old, he had a fucking Gucci 65, 6300, whatever it is, labeled pocketbook. So, and he was wearing those ever since then. And now that he's in his 30s, I'm pretty sure this shit ain't finna stop right now. And so they had that little going back and forth trying to figure out that they come from two different worlds, but they still kind of, they still were meant to be. It's like having a puzzle and there's two pieces that are missing to make this whole puzzle, make it go together, make it work, to finish it, the completion of it. And it seems like in this puzzle, they're the missing piece to each other in each other's puzzle, put it that way. And it seems as though they've recognized that, and instead of taking that piece and applying it to their love life, their emotional, or whatever have you, and making it make sense and putting that happy place in their life, they're too stunned and too afraid of that because they come from two different worlds. And they're trying to make it work as best they can. And I feel as though, again, with one of the situations, if they sit down and have that fun, that talk, and get on the same level, I think that can actually be rekindled and recognized between the two of them. And I think pretty much it will at some point, I'm sure, which you did in this episode. We'll get to that in just a minute. Mercedes having a flashback at the diner when she stopped to let Terrika use the restroom. She had that flashback of Sister Woodbine and she basically being homeless, going from pillar to post, living on, cots and shit like that, and basically being hungry. Now, I didn't understand why Sister Woodbine felt it was okay to pimp her daughter out to talk to this dude behind her to help with the check. But then when the child goes in her wallet and pull out the money herself and say, I got it from my boyfriend, she sees the condoms. And then from that point, she just went in and beat the Mississippi Mud Chuckalisa fucking brakes off of Mercedes right there in the diner in front of everybody. So that was pretty much an eye-opener also to kind of how we saw how they had the boxing match over in the jail cell when when Patricia stole Mercedes' money. Grandma Ernestine going missing real quick. Now, that kind of fucked me up a little bit. They was in there having a good time, chit-chatting and talking or whatever, and all of a sudden they go looking for Ernestine, and all of a sudden she's just fucking gone. She done walked out the house, they left her her little guru cap thing, as a clue, I guess what the fuck it was, behind as to how they can find her accidentally. But she just taking this walk. I don't know how apparently they're not very far from the Mississippi River. So she took this walk over to the Mississippi River, and she was actually having these visions again of seeing Beulah at some point, and she wanted to go into that water. Now, I don't know what the water did for her. I don't know if Beulah died in that water. I don't know the backstory to Uncle Clifford's mom and how she passed away. I don't recall if they showed that last season, but they definitely did not show that this season. But it was actually kind of scary. She, we were used to her being blind and seeing her eyes all kind of fucked up. But her sweating the way she was just ranting on and just saying shit, just talking all out of her head. And we couldn't understand, as the audience, me personally, I couldn't understand why the fuck they didn't just call the ambulance in the first place, instead of just wanting to get her back to the house. But Lil Murder apparently knew something that Uncle Cliff didn't. He took the little hacky sack head wrap, dipped it in the lake or in the Mississippi River, and got some water on it and just kind of, put it all over. I think that maybe cooled her off and kind of got her body temperature down, because she may have been being delusional because of her temperature, because it was quite high. Who knows? But when Terrika and Mercedes finally made it down to the motherfucking, there you go, I took Lisa back, to the motherfucking, abortion clinic, I see that Stars or P-Valley, they done wrote into, now they catching up, they coming out of COVID, and they catching up now to the current status and news that's happening now. And so, as you all know, the Roe versus Wade situation, the overturnment of that law has been a big thing here in the United States. If you all haven't watching the news or any of this other stuff, like the Capitol Hill rioting trials and all that stuff, if you've been watching that, but that has been playing a huge role here recently in our society when it comes to abortion. And so the writers of P-Valley, of course, put that right into the show when Terrika and Mercedes showed up to the clinic. Everybody out there with their signs and, rallying around the building and riding, or whatever you want to call it, picketing. That's what it's called, picketing around the building and shit about, the abortions, and trying to, pull back that law and get that overturned. But when she went into the clinic and she asked the lady told her she was 14 weeks, and the lady was like, what do you want to do? She was like, well, do I have to get her sucked out right now? Or, what's the deal? And all this. And she told her, you don't have to decide now, but time is ticking. So at some point, she would have to actually make a decision, which honestly does get to the point of the matter. She and Mercedes got back to the hotel room, had a little Mercedes Terrika moment, then that turned into a Terrika mother moment, or at least mom moment. And Mercedes actually explained herself to Terrika and more in depth the difficulties of being a young mother. And Terrika, I think, really heard her out, because eventually, after they had this conversation, when they got in the car to head back to Chuckalisa, they had to make a turn over into Jackson. They had the opportunity to make a turn over into Jackson, full speed ahead to Chuckalisa and move on with their lives. Well, Mercedes put the power in Terrika's hands, and she was saying that's something that she was not giving was options. Even when she did make fuck-ups, she was not given options. And Sister Woodbine made her just go ahead and have Terrika. She didn't get no ideas of possible abortion or any of this stuff, because as you've seen in the crowd when they got to the clinic, Sister Woodbine was standing in the back in spirit, looking and talking shit, in her mind with her face, her resting bitch face. But yeah, getting back to, so they're leaving the hotel and they have this heart-to-heart conversation, and Mercedes basically goes ahead and tells Terrika, hey, look, this is going to be your decision. I'm not going to keep pressing you. I'm not going to keep asking you. I'm not going to push you either fucking way. I'm going to let it be your decision because it's something that I wasn't given. And whatever decision you ride with, I'm going to rock what you wanted. So hit these motherfucking car keys. You take the driver's seat. She told Terrika, if you decide to go to Jackson, that's fine. If we decide to go to Chucalissa and live out our life and move forward, either way you decide to go, I am with you on that. And I felt like that was a very mature move on Mercedes' part, you know, as it pertains to her daughter and her now being active in her life and shit. She don't want to be no grandma at 30. But as we saw, Terrika took that into consideration. She actually felt like she had some ownership of her life, and she actually had her mother in her corner. And with that, she decided, you know what, fuck it. I'm not ready to be a mom as I thought I would. Fuck what that boy say. When she was headed down that road, mobbing up in that old yellow Trans Am, she threw that old signal on to the right, jumped off the highway and went over there and took care of her business. And so I'm actually, fuck it, I say I'm proud of her because at the end, she didn't need to be a young mom, but at the same time, I hated the fact that she had to give up this child because it's not really something I go for, but at the end of the day, you know, different strokes for different folks and different situations lead you to down a path where you have to make a decision that's best for you. And in this particular situation, she had already bypassed one issue where she didn't make the right choice. And so with this one, she had to actually counteract that choice with what she actually did, which was decide to not go forward with being a mother. Back to Grandma Ernestine. They finally got her back down to the house. She wasn't doing all that good. They finally did go ahead and call an ambulance and get her the fuck on down at the hospital and let them go check her out. And all she kept hollering was, she not ready to die, she don't want to go. But if she wasn't ready to die, she wasn't ready to go, why in the fuck was she going down into that river? And it was fine to start off with, you know, Aretha Franklin, but don't come down here with Al Green to take me to the river because you ain't about to wash me down. If anything, about to drown your motherfucking ass and send you on singing with that heavenly choir. But I'm so glad, excuse me, it's so rude. I'm so glad they actually found her in the nick of time and stopped that from happening because I figured, you know, Loretta Devine, she's one of my favorite actresses. She plays a major role to me in this show, and I love her comedy. I love her presence in the show. She's one of the greats. Uncle Clifford and Lil Murder kind of having a moment, like I guess a drag friend moment after Grandma Ernestine took off to the hospital. Because Uncle Cliff was kind of fucked up. He wasn't sure if he was going to lose his grandmother or not. He still isn't sure. And with that being said, him hearing his grandmother call his mother's name, that kind of indicated to him that maybe, you know, his grandmother's getting ready to go ahead to the upper room. And maybe she is going to sing with that heavenly choir and Big Reef and them and the rest of them people over there, and Micah and all the rest of them over there singing in them stands down for rehearsal over there in heaven. But they had this beautiful moment, you know, when he came out of the shower, their Lil Murder was dressed up in some of his geesh, some of Uncle Cliff's clothes and stuff, and just started to do this little strip tease to, what the boy's name is, Cisco, which they had this little discussion about earlier, making it seem like he didn't know who Cisco fucking was, but he really knew all along. But he's playing the music, you know, doing the thing, taking his clothes off and all that, just being goofy and silly, trying to get the Uncle Clifford's spirits to be raised up a little bit more, because even his own, actually, because he was feeling like shit himself after what he's experienced with Big T. So he was trying to actually have a friend moment, a beautiful moment, a fun moment to actually raise the vibrations between the two of them and put them on a better level and in a better headspace about the fucked up events that was going on in their life currently. They had that moment, they laughed and everything. And I'm just going to tell you, I knew they was going to end up fucking. I knew it was going to end up bumping and grinding. I didn't mean to bring the R. Kelly up in here, but oh well, he's in the room. But I knew they was going to end up bumping and grinding. And my only thing I'm going to tell y'all like this here, they bring it up plenty of fucking, but I'm going to just tell y'all like this here, there's such thing as versing and all this good stuff here. I seen my friend posted on Facebook, Jessica Potts, crazy as fuck, keeps me laughing. But I seen her, she actually watched the episode and she was like, yeah, you know, shit, they got niggas that out there are versatile. And apparently we've always seen Lil Murder, blowing Uncle Cliff's walls down and his doors down in the last season. And of course now this season, You know, he knocked Big T's head up in the motherfucking headboard. So now all of a sudden, now I guess Uncle Cliff got needs too. And apparently, Lil Murder has some other needs that we didn't know about, which is fine by me. I mean, hey, get it how you live, do it how you do it. But apparently, when the jelly broke out this time, when the KY broke out this time, I thought Uncle Cliff was about to lay around and grease Lil Murder up and hop on that thing and ride it like a rodeo. But apparently, baby, he was pushing Lil Murder's legs back and putting must have been that grease up on there and massaging and stuck that finger up in there. Because when y'all seen Lil Murder's eyes get big and his mouth open wide up, y'all know that big thick ass finger Uncle Cliff must have slipped up in that old butthole. Baby must have done some work, but I tell you what, it didn't do as much work as when Uncle Cliff slipped that. Well, y'all saw it when he put that thing up in there. That really sent them into ecstasy. They had a good little moment, a good, nice, old, nasty little shady fuck moment, and I was here for every last bit of it. It brought them back together, and I know they had been missing and longing for each other for so long through these postcards and shit like that they were sharing while Lil Murder was out on tour with Keyshawn and the whole gang and all that different shit. But anyway, the bottom line is I'm glad that they are back together. I'm glad that they have reunited. I'm glad they done fucked and got their vibes back together. They get meshed. They putting their pieces of the puzzle back together. I'm glad that Grandma Ernestine was able to play a part in bringing them together, but I hope she does make it back from the goddamn hospital, back over to the house so she can finish tasting these good yams and collard greens and some other pork chops that Lil Murder gonna be cooking for her in the future, because I'm pretty sure him and Uncle Cliff are probably gonna tie the knot somewhere down the line. Let's see. Haley stopped by Keyshawn's house real quick to check on her to see what was going on after she saw her in the market. She looked at her face and told her, you know, there's more than one way to get out, bitch. You can still get it done. You can do it. Let me help you. But when she stopped by the house, Derek was looking at her all kinds of crazy, trying to figure out who the fuck she was. And I'm pretty sure he should have known who Haley was from the get-go, because he's been down to the paint plenty of times in the last season and seen the whole crew over there. So it's not like he should have just forgotten her that soon. But Haley came in, you know, stopped by, and she came with an excuse that she has stopped by the outlet and decided to pick up something for the baby. But she really came over there to drop a fucking knowledge, a nugget of knowledge into Keyshawn's ear, because she had been through the same thing at some point, and she was actually just there to let her know. I feel as though that little story, that little lullaby, whatever the fuck she gave her real quick, the little bedtime story. I hope Keyshawn is really hearing the message in between the lines, reading between the lines, because I feel like she was basically telling her, bitch, when you ready to get out, let me know. I got blood on my hands already, and it's nothing for us to go ahead and maul this motherfucker and blow his head off and bury his ass somewhere, sink him to the bottom of the Chuckalisa River, and get rid of his ass and move on with our life. You move on with your life, you and your children. So maybe Keyshawn really needs to go ahead and try to take Haley up on that offer and see what's popping and see what's going on, see how they can make that thing work. But that's all I got for y'all. Now I just finished watching this shit. I told y'all I had more stuff to put out for y'all, and that's pretty much all I have for y'all tonight on P Valley, Pussy Valley. If you did not watch, take your ass down now to Stars and take a look at this episode and see what you saw, what I might have missed. And drop down in the comments and tell me what y'all think about this whole little situation about, you know, Terrika deciding not to be a mother. Drop down in the comments and tell me what y'all think about Haley stopping by to check on Keyshawn and how that plan might work out. Hell, drop down in the comments and tell me how y'all think it may turn out with Lil Murder and Uncle Cliff, since they back on the scene, fucking again and whatnot. Drop down in the comments and let me know how you feel about Grandma Ernestine and her situation. I know y'all yet praying for her in y'all spiritual realm somewhere down up and through there. Yeah, holler at me, drop down in the comments and let me know what y'all thought about this episode. And also don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Hit that notification bell to make sure that when I put these videos out, you guys will receive them or get the notifications so that you can come on by, spend a little time with me, and watch these videos, right? So that's all I have for y'all. Again, share with somebody you know, share with somebody you don't know, share with somebody you like, share with a motherfucker you don't like. Because if you don't like me, I promise you, I swear to you, I'm sure somebody else will. Check the views, check the comments. Can't stop it. And before I get out of here, love yourself. Love somebody else. But only if they're willing to love you back in the same way. Because anybody got time for all that merry-go-round shit, right? Let's do this. All right, y'all. So I'll see y'all next time when we stop by the Atlanta Housewives. I'll check y'all out in Georgia, in Peach State. All right. Night.